Namaskar friends, and welcome back to module 11 of the stress management course. We are dealing with lecture 2 of this module, which is a sequence of lecture 1, and we will learn about some more problem focused coping skills in this segment. This time we will be doing important discussions about strategies to maintain a to-do list, doing self-reflection, trying easiest problem first, prioritizing our task, of course asking for help, challenging negative self-talk, taking regular breaks, don't assuming the worst, and finally we will try to appraise the effectiveness of problem focused strategies by assessing their pros and cons. Let us begin with our discussion. Some other problem focused strategies can involve having a to-do list that can be created on a daily basis. What happens that if I try to remember everything in my mind, it can increase the cognitive load a lot. If I try to remember that okay, at the workplace I have to do these 10 things today, and at the family level I have to complete this task, or maybe the next week I have to do this and I have to do that, it is going to cause a lot of cognitive burden for me. That can easily be handled to paper or a laptop or a mobile phone. By doing so, I can spare my cognitive resources to be spent on more productive and meaningful things. So, creating a to-do list is something very beneficial because first it reduces my cognitive load. Second, it reduces the possibility of forgetfulness. If I have jotted everything down on a piece of a paper, on a diary, in a mobile phone, in my laptop, wherever I find it convenient, I reduce a chance to forget and miss something important. Once you forget something important, it creates additional stress. So, I can simply compile it at one place, and then as I keep completing the task, I can simply strike them off. So, once I revisit the list at the end of the day, it will give me a kind of motivation also that okay, I listed 10 tasks today and I successfully completed 8 out of 10. So, my productivity is almost 80%. So, if I try to review this, this will be beneficial for me again, as it gives me good feel, a feel of achievement, and then it also motivates me to improve my performance. Suppose on the very first day I can accomplish only 55 or 60% task, I can find myself motivated to stretch the limit of this success up to 70% the next day, and then up to 80 or 90% in the next week, and so on. So, creating a to-do list is something very beneficial. It avoids undue stress and also helps in reducing the stress which is already present in my situation. Then comes the strategy of self-reflection. Self-reflection means I am working and at some point of time I may feel like as if I am overwhelmed with the situation, with the thoughts, with the ideas, and somehow I need some time to reorganize myself. Uh, Sometimes we all feel like as if we are running after the goal, maybe after several goals simultaneously, and then we need a pause so that we can rethink. We can rethink about what we are doing, why we are doing so, what is the effectiveness of the actions that we have taken, do they need restructuring, do they need any kind of changes. For all these discussions, for all these reflections, we can take small breaks after a schedule of maybe 12 hours, or maybe after 2 or 3 days I can sit back and have a self reflection session depending upon my own requirement. So revisiting the situation with a clear mind always help us to cope with the situation in a better way and to put things into correct perspectives. Another strategy is to tackle the easiest problem first. Remember what you used to do in your mathematics paper when you were studying in your school? Probably whenever you get the question paper, you go through the paper and then you try to put a tick mark on those questions which were easier for you, which you would solve easily and you were confident about solving them. So, if you solve 2 or 3 easy questions, this will improve your engagement with the situation and also give you a kind of confidence that you can manage the situation. On the other hand, if you read the first question and the very first question appears to be very difficult to you, or you realize that you have simply missed learning that particular section, or you do not remember the answer of that, what kind of emotions used to be there in your mind? Just think about it. So having an easy start is important because it induces a feeling of success which boosts your self-esteem, boosts your confidence, motivates you to get engaged with the situation in a more effective manner. Similarly, prioritizing your task. You have prepared a to-do list, maybe 8 to 10 tasks are listed there. Of course, including the workplace assignments and the home assignments which you are supposed to carry out. Prioritizing those tasks will tell you which task must be taken up at the time of the day when you are the most productive and at the time of the day when you are the least productive. See, mostly what happens that 80% results are derived from 20% efforts. So, those 20% efforts are to be made in the best part of the day. Now, what do I mean by the best part of the day? Whether the parts of the day, that is morning, afternoon, evening, night, they differ in terms of their goodness? No, I don't mean that. I actually mean to tell you that we should go by our own biological clock. We all know that during some time of the day we find ourselves more energetic, more enthusiastic, in a shape to work better as compared to other times of the day. So, if for me the morning time is one when I feel more energetic, or evening 5 to 7, 5 to 8 is there when I find myself very much motivated to work properly. I should keep my important assignment for those hours instead of keeping important assignments for the parts of the day where I do not find myself energetic and motivated to work, maybe the afternoon hours. So, whatever tasks are there, we must assign a priority index to them. The most important assignments must be taken up when you find the most energetic, and then you can schedule the other tasks accordingly. Again, I would reiterate, as I did in the last lecture also, one must not be afraid of asking about help. If I am engaged in doing a big assignment, or I am taking a big project which encompasses a number of things to do, even I am organizing an event, a function at my home, I need to do so many work. And of course, I am the only individual. If I am the only individual to do everything, it will tax my existing capacities a lot. So, it is better not to keep all responsibilities with me only, rather to distribute it among the available family members or team members. Uh, Again, I must keep in mind that asking for help is easier in collectivistic cultures like one we live in, the Indian culture. But this very simple and obvious thing can be very difficult for people coming from highly individualistic cultures, where asking for help can be seen as a sign of incapability. So, this point has been reiterated to tell people that asking for help at appropriate times is a strategy to overcome stress, not an indicator of your own inefficiency. Then, one must be ready to challenge the negative thoughts which comes to their mind. Then, instead of thinking that you will never be able to handle this, or I will never be able to handle this, this is just impossible, this is not my cup of tea, others can do it, but of course I am not the person suitable for this. I can just remind myself of my past successes, or about the fact that many others who were very much like me in terms of education, in terms of resources, in terms of capacities, they also managed to go through it successfully, then why not me? There are so many ways to keep myself motivated, to keep myself convinced about the fact that if others can do it, I can do it also. We must not think of the worst outcome at the end, because if I keep thinking about the worst outcomes all the time, this will demotivate me, discourage me from putting best of my efforts. I put best efforts when I trust in my own capacities, and I also believe in the fact that the final outcome is somehow contingent upon my own actions. So, if I throw my head, heart, and hand in doing something, this will definitely lead to desired effects. Therefore, there is no use of thinking pessimistically about the situation all the time. Rather, one must be optimistic and hopeful about managing things properly. Then it is also important to take break of self reflections and introspection, and one must know when to take these breaks so that it is not too late to reflect upon it. If I have completed an action almost 90% and then I sit back and start reviewing the consequences of my actions or reviewing the impact of my action, it will be of barely any use because the action is mostly completed or it is on the verge of completion. Therefore, it is said that periodic reflections are more important. You do something and then after a reasonable time you can just review what you have done and what kind of effects or impacts are you seeing through your actions. If those effects indicate in the direction desired, then you can continue with those kind of efforts. Otherwise, it is better to think of changes that can be made in order to improve the effectiveness of the actions. Then it is the time to evaluate the benefits and the cost of the problem focused coping strategies. First of all, problem focused coping strategies give you a chance to work upon the stressful situation itself and to do away with the stressor. If you really remove the element of a stress from the situation, that would be the best part, because then you don't have to suffer from the stress created by that particular element anymore. But even if you are not able to eliminate it completely, you can substantially change its form so that its stressgenic effect is reduced significantly. It also empowers yourself because you get a feeling that you change the environment according to your own priorities instead of yielding to the pressure of the situation and keep changing yourself to adjust with the situation. It develops a sense of control in yourself, which is very important for future situations in which you may need to manage stress. It may give you quicker outcomes sometimes. For example, if I am not feeling well, if I am suffering from some kind of physical or mental discomfort and I keep on denying it, I keep on trying that it's okay, I can continue with it, I can continue without medication, I can continue without consulting the doctor. It will somehow put an extra pressure on me, on my physical and mental systems. On the other hand, if I try to resolve this situation by acting upon the situation itself, by acting upon the root cause of the problem itself and fix up an appointment with the doctor, or if I take a suitable medication for myself. For example, if I find feverish, I can just get a paracetamol and take it. What happens that it may provide me immediate relief and gives me a time period where I can plan for long lasting strategies to resolve stress. like long lasting strategies to keep myself healthy, or to look for the possible causes of fever, you know, so that I can really intervene into the situation in a better and effective manner. Then concentrating on resolutions over feelings has a power to push you towards leaving a harmful situation. Now, what happens? That suppose I have a friend which is highly possessive, or who believes in criticizing me so that he can establish his or her own superiority on me, or there is somebody who keeps guiding me all the time and wants me to comply with all kind of guidance he or she provided without giving me any opportunity to try my own abilities of handling the situation, and things like that are going on and on and on for a long time without any kind of change. The relationship can become very difficult for me to handle. What can I do? If I simply try to console myself, I will be in that relationship, and of course, trying to change my own emotions about it. Trying to change my own emotions means try to reduce the pain and agony associated with the negative emotions I will go through as a result of such toxic relationship, or maybe change in my job so that I need to adjust with a new kind of work culture, a new job role or something like that. So if I try to, you know, keep working on my own emotions and trying to adjust myself according to the situation all the time, it can make it all very frustrating and exhaustive for me. Whereas concentrating on restructuring the situation, resolving the stressor which is present in the situation, can give me a power to actually disconnect myself, to relocate myself, leaving that problematic context behind if I am not successful in intervening in the situation. It also provides you with the substitute of emotion focused strategies. For some people, managing emotion is not very easy. Those people may not be very good at emotion regulation. So, for them, the problem focused coping strategies are a very suitable alternative to reduce the stress. For others, they can of course work on their own emotions and adjust themselves, but one must be aware of the fact that pursuing any strategy endlessly, indeterminately will ultimately lead to exhaustion and burnout, especially if the strategy is related to the adjustment of one's own self according to situation. So, it is beneficial to concentrate upon both sides, concentrating upon the resolution of the stressful situation as well as making appropriate adjustments and regulations of one's emotions also. Coming at the drawback side, of course, every coin has two sides. So, if I talk about the advantages, I must talk about the drawbacks or shortcomings of that strategy also. Sometimes focusing on the problem itself without taking care of the emotional state one must be in it may fail to acknowledge or address the emotional reactions linked to that event, and this can potentially give rise to unpleasant emotions in the mind of people. Suppose I find that going to Kolkata from Varanasi takes 6 to 8 hours, maybe 8 to 10 hours by road, and this is slowing down the transportation, this is slowing down the business activities. So I started looking for a solution. I tried to intervene into the situation itself by making a 4-lane highway or an expressway from Varanasi to Kolkata. But if I completely ignore the emotions of people who have to give their lands for this purpose, and I do not try to convince them appropriately, I simply offered them compensation and I found it an enough solution to their emotions, it may actually not like that, it may not work like that, you know. So sometimes it is important to complement the emotion focused strategies with the problem focused strategies. And the second important thing to be noted here is all aspects of the situations are not really changeable. If it is too cold outside, what can I do about it? Can I increase the temperature by asking the sun to give more warmth to the planet Earth? No, I can't do it. I have to make modifications in my arrangements. I can switch towards options which can keep my surroundings warm. I can look for more warmer clothes or anything like that. So, all aspects of the situation are not changeable. One must not waste their effort trying and trying different kind of problem focused strategies after a situation which doesn't have much scope for change. So, if we are trapped in such kind of situations, it is better to look at the emotion focused strategies. If an individual lacks the realization of emotional states of people, uh, their problem solving skills can also be compromised. So, of course, that cold hearted approach must not be adopted, which seems to neglect all kind of emotional reactions in a stressful situation. Finally, selecting appropriate technique of resolving the problem. If I am going to take my resort on problem focused strategies is also very important. There are two approaches. One asks you to confront with the problematic situation in an head on manner. So, direct collision or confrontation with the problem, where the problem can come with its maximum energy and intensity. The other approach is easiest problem first, that we discussed in earlier slides. That is, start with an easier problem and try to solve it. We must be aware of the suitable approach also. If in the beginning I do not have a capacity to handle a lot of stress and I chose the bang on approach, the stress resulting from this collision can simply overwhelm me as an individual, and it can induce a number of negative emotions in me. So, I can go for easiest problem first approach. But if this approach is not working, I keep working on easy problems, but I never find myself prepared to take up more severe and actual problems, it is better to adopt a bang on approach where I am going to take the problem head on. So, selection of an appropriate problem solving strategy is also a must. That's what we had in today's lecture, and here is a recap of the content for you. We today talked about creating a to-do list, take a pause and take a breath, starting the easiest problem first to boost our own confidence, prioritizing tasks, asking for help, challenging negative self-talks, and not assuming the worst to happen. We also discussed the good and challenging aspects of using problem focused coping skills while resolving a stressful situation. As always, here is a list of references and recommended readings for you that can be used to enhance your knowledge. These are mostly the books which deal with stress management as a whole, so they can be read to gain an understanding about so many topics related to stress management. That is why these books have been referred again and again. Thank you very much for your kind attention.